Hello, this is DC Hammer, and this is the DC Hammer Show, starting off today with this piece from justice.gov, which indicates that a former defense intelligence officer has been arrested for attempting espionage. And yes, the date on that one is from June of 2018, and I'm sure that that went unreported in your mainstream news, whatever you watch. But there's an update on it that brings it current. And so Ron Rockwell Hansen, 58-year-old resident of Syracuse, Utah, last year was arrested for espionage on the behalf of the Red Dragon, the People's Republic of China, Communist China. So he was a former DIA officer. He was a contractor for several years. This goes back to 2006 when he got out of the DIA and then started contracting. He was approached by the Communist Chinese. He accepted money to the tune of $800,000 to act illegally on their behalf as an unregistered agent of theirs, but also to not just act as an agent of Communist China, but also then to betray us, to provide classified information to the Communist Chinese. He was also selling them export control technology. Export control as in illegal to provide it to others. He faces up to life in prison for espionage, but the update on this is he is being brought to trial in Utah, and one of the people involved in making this all happen is U.S. Attorney John Huber for the District of Utah. So a lot of people may think that there hasn't been much going on behind the scenes, as we've been hoping for the D-Class to come out soon, but there obviously has been a lot going on that most of the people in the public don't know about, especially if you watch the mainstream news. The Free Beacon is reporting that Iran, the largest supporter of terrorism in the world, is building 2 new nuclear power plants, and at the same time has filed a complaint against the United States for quote-unquote crimes against humanity. So they are constructing 2 new nuclear power plants, and we'll find out how the Trump administration is going to deal with that, as that then is an issue regarding the limitations that have been placed on Iran by our current government, that if the State Department is even considering waivers for Iran to expand its nuclear program, you have to ask yourself what else is already a done deal and why that isn't public yet. Rouhani said that the sanctions against Iran are against the Iranian people's health, environment, ordinary life, foodstuff, and medicine, which is code for against their ability to wipe out every Jew in the state of Israel, the little Satan, and then aim their weapons at the great Satan and wipe us all out after that. And I'm sure you heard last Friday that there was a despicable event that took place over in New Zealand. There was a mosque that was attacked. 40 plus people were murdered by a crazy person. And as they're sorting out the details with how that was caused, you don't know if this is a false flag, MK Ultra at work, or just some deranged lunatic that decided to go on a rampage and kill people. But I'm sure that this has gone unreported again in your purview, the things that you watch on cable TV or regular television, is that did you know that on January 27 of this year, 20 people were killed in a church bombing in the Philippines? And this comes to us from sky.com, and apparently these are followers of Abu Sayyaf, which was the big Muslim terrorist group in the Philippines, in the south of that country. And so 20 people were murdered, 81 were injured. There were 2 bombs. They exploded in the Catholic Cathedral in Sulu. That's a city and a province in the southern part of the country. Some of the injured were airlifted to Zamboanga, which is an outlying city on the coastal region down on the south end of the Philippines, where all the Muslim terrorists hang out. But again, I don't think you have heard about this one. I don't think you will have heard about it, even though this is almost 2 months old now. But if you want something that's more recent and that you won't hear much about as well, PJ Media is reporting that 3 people are dead in Utrecht. That's in the Netherlands, so the Dutch have suffered another terrorist attack. The police identify the subject as Turkish, as in Muslim, an Islamist from Turkey. The suspect has been taken into custody. 3 people are dead. he opened fire on a tram, that's like a train, in Utrecht, killing 3 people. And we'll see how newsworthy the mainstream press thinks this is on the heels of what took place against a mosque in New Zealand on Friday, to see what they report as far as this attack on these innocent Dutch citizens today. The worst case of sedition and treason in American history continues to unfold. Breitbart has been reporting that the CNN report was a source for unverified claims in that Russian dossier that was used to try to bring down President Trump. So the way this all tracks forward is disgraced former spy Christopher Steele, who is credited for some of the material within that dossier, but we're now finding out that it may have been created by others, including Nellie Orr, directly, instead of her receiving material and just passing it through her husband into the pipeline as they tried to flood the zone and try to send the information in a variety of ways, including through an aide of former senator from Arizona, No Name, so it would be coming from a respected Republican source as well. But what this is all about is CNN had an entity they called iReport, which enabled just anybody that had internet access to go into that site and to report things from their own point of view without any kind of journalistic investigation or corroboration. And so under oath, Christopher Steele has testified that this is where he got some of the information that he used in order to compile what he provided to Fusion GPS, and that ended up in that quote-unquote dossier and formed the basis for the largest political scandal in our history and an outright coup against the President of the United States. And just when you think that couldn't get any worse, Pamela Geller in the Geller Report is reporting that not only were there suspicious means used in order to pull the information together for that crazy dossier, totally discredited pile of smelling manure that was sold to the American public as if it was the gospel. So now they've tracked back some of the funding for that mess to, wait for it, who do you think? George Soros. So our nefarious, demon-possessed billionaire George Soros is now tied to that anti-Trump dirty dossier hoax, and appears to have provided some of the funding behind it, some of the impetus in order to pull together that completely fake narrative in order to try to bring down the President of the United States. Trump, and he has also funded organizations like Black Lives Matter. He also now appears to have been involved with information that made it into that quote-unquote dossier. It just keeps getting worse for the deep state. Thank you, and God bless. And now the DC Hammer Show is available as an audio podcast. Just go to Podcast Garden or iTunes and search for DC Hammer or News Narrative Analysis Associates, NNAA.